Hey lovelies, welcome back to Reviews and Recaps. It's been a while since I did a pre-recorded video for you, so let's get into it. So happy Sunday everybody. I just watched the latest episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville and I have a few things to say. So first of all, the episode was boring to me. It didn't give anything different from what we already know. It feels like the storyline is about Nell. The whole storyline seems to be about Nell and then Tisha. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I feel like the girls alone on this show cannot carry the show. We need the guys on the show because it is obvious that Marceau is missing from the show. Because Tisha, Kimmi, Destiny, Nell, they cannot carry the show by themselves. I know Chris made an appearance, but we all know that Chris is not the personality here. It is more Miss Nell. But what I am starting to notice is Nell is getting the male experience. I say that because I feel like she's getting the experience that Mel got on the show. Because now it seems that everyone is making her the issue on the show, and we're going to talk about it. But I need you guys to do me a favor by please hitting that like button before we get into it. If you guys watched the episode, also let me know what you guys thought of it. Give your ratings on a scale of 0. Okay, let me be nice. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being excellent and 1 being terrible, how would you rate this episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville? I personally would say I give it a 3 or 4. I thought it was very, very boring. I felt like they could have really kept that episode in drafts. I don't think that there was anything that I thought, oh, this is wonderful. Now, of course, I like the fact that Trish is going to therapy. We have already talked about that. So it isn't anything new. So I'm not even going to go into the fact that Trish is getting therapy. It's good to have that little bit of context, that added factor to that. I appreciate it. But let's talk about the meat of the issue. I personally feel like Nell is getting the same experience that Mel was getting from everybody. Remember how everyone tried to make it seem like Mel was the problem and people don't like her and she doesn't engage with people? Now, let's be clear. It seems like Nell is getting excluded from certain events. Have you guys noticed? The girls decided to hang out together, go over to Wanda. Nell was not invited. If you look at other episodes as well, Nell was clearly not being included in meetups, which also goes back to why Nell was upset in the first place. Because it's like, oh, you guys hung out without me? Imagine this. Imagine you're in a group of people and everybody gets invited somewhere and you don't get invited somewhere. And you're the one person that is always uninvited or not invited at all to any group functions. At some point you start to realize, okay, maybe these people don't really like me. And I feel like that's where Nell is getting to. It's obvious these women don't like you. I feel like Destiny probably does, but the rest don't like you. And Destiny does not have enough of a pull in this season. If you guys notice, Destiny seems to be very love and light right now. She doesn't want the smoke. She's keeping it on the up and up and very light this season, which I feel like is because she does not want any more smoke from the viewers. And so I think that Destiny is not going to be the one that would be out here fighting and defending Nell. She's not going to be that person. She's going to be playing and straddling the fence like she has been doing in all of these previous episodes. So in reality, Nell doesn't even have an ally. These other girls have themselves. Tisha and Kimmi have each other. And then if you think about Trish is like Destiny. Trish is also coasting along in this season. She is cool with everybody, but you can tell her loyalties are more towards Tisha. So imagine the loyalty is more towards them, Tisha and Kimmi, over Nell. So it's like Nell is practically on an island by herself. And it's crazy because I feel like if Destiny was truly Nell's friend, Destiny would be saying like, okay, guys, I can understand how it comes across as you guys are trying to gang up and tag team her. Like, can we take it one after the other? If one person wants to talk, let the other person address it later. That could have been a thing. But that is not what is happening here. It just feels like Tisha can do whatever, Kimmi can do whatever, and then Nell is the one being blamed for everything. I think it takes two to tango, and in this case, three of them have a part to play. I feel like Kimmi was the one that started the ish because Kimmi decided to bring up the conversation, make it a thing. Nell and Tisha already talked about it. Nell said what she said. She stood on what she said. She did not deny the fact that she said, keep my family's business out of your effing mouth, or whatever she said. So she stood on that. There's no need for a back and forth. If Tisha did not have enough vim to go back and forth with Nell about it, it's like, why do you have to then step in? Tisha was handling business, yet you stepped in. And the thing I feel like about Kimmi that annoys me is Kimmi is very underhanded. And so outside looking in, you may think that Kimmi is trying to squash it, but she ain't trying to squash nothing. She is trying to get into a spat. That is all Kimmi is on. And so even though it looks like she's being nice, she's being polite, she's trying to get the girlies to talk about it, no, you're trying to revisit something that is not necessary to do. And that's what is so bothersome to me. So it just felt like Tisha and Nell were like tag teaming, especially when it wasn't necessary. It wasn't like Tisha was like being drowned by Miss Nell. She wasn't. She just said where she stood, and that was just that, right? So it's like if she wanted to go back and be like, okay, no, Nell, let her do that. There was no need for Kimmi to insert herself. And I just feel like this is just reminiscent of how these people would insert themselves. Maybe Tisha is talking to Mel, the rest are inserting themselves into it, and then it turns into some mess. I bet that Nell is finally seeing what Mel was experiencing all along. When we kept talking about it, it felt like all the bloggers were doing too much. They're always making it seem like Mel is the victim and people are picking on Mel. See what Nell said. Nell said it's always like fingers pointed at me. My question to Nell is, that doesn't feel good, does it? It doesn't feel good. So how do you think that Mel would have felt in that situation? And you, as her friend, did not do more to make sure that that was not the case. And so look at you now. You're in a group with all these people that don't even like you. They don't even invite you to places. They come to your events and then cause drama. Imagine, I could tell that Nell was not trying to have that conversation at her event. Yes, Kimmi kept trying to pull her outside. Nell was just trying to have a good event. Kimmi was like, no, you ain't having a good event. We need to talk about this. So then Kimmi had to then drag her out. And it's like, why did Kimmi have to drag her out? If Tisha was the one with beef, then Tisha should have been the one to have the conversation. Why did it have to be Kimmi? And this is why it feels like they were just tag teaming her. Think about it like that. But even also, when they were in the bus traveling to go and see Miss Wanda, they kept talking about it as well. You can tell that all of them were talking about Nell. And it's like, okay, I get it. But at the same time, it just feels like, why is Nell the topic of everyone's conversation? And it just brings back to when Mel was always the topic of everyone's conversation. Honestly, watching this episode back, it just felt like I was watching everyone talking about Nell. All of these scenes were Nell, except when it was Trisha, when it was about Trisha. And it's like, what are we doing? It got worse for me when Tisha decided to bring Miss Wanda into it. I'm like, Tisha, you're a grown woman. There is no need for you to bring your mom in to try to fight your battles. Like, at the end of the day, this is a friend group. Nell is part of the friend group. I don't think calling reinforcements because you want someone to address somebody in your friend group is the way to go. At the end of the day, you talk about being grown, then why not square up and talk to this woman? Nobody is saying be disrespectful. You don't want to be disrespectful to your elders. Fine, wonderful. It's a great and excellent trait to have. But at the same time, going to get somebody to now come and do that feels like you yourself don't feel adequate. You feel weak enough, or you feel so weak that you cannot address Miss Nell by yourself, that you have to get somebody, your mom, to back you up. That's what it sounds like. And it's funny because I think for years we've talked about how we feel like Tisha always like brings Wanda in to fight her battles. We've always said this for a long time, but it's so interesting seeing it happen on camera because normally we were speculating. We've always felt like Tisha is going to be on to Wanda talking about, oh, Mel did this or someone did this or someone did that. And then Wanda has all that energy for the person. But it's so interesting to actually see it happen on our screens. It's like we're watching them. And Tisha was talking about, she's closer to Miss Wanda in age, so she'll let Wanda deal with her. I'm like, that is blatantly sending Wanda to go and fight your battles. I don't think that's right. I don't think there's any need to call reinforcements. It's also interesting that Kimmi picked up on that in her confessionals, where she talks about how it felt like Tisha was basically sending Wanda in for reinforcement. And it's just like, there's no need to do that, Tisha. You should be able to handle your own at the end of the day, unless you feel like Nell is out here eating you up. And maybe you feel like Nell is out here eating you up and you can't handle Nell, so you had to bring Miss Wanda to come help you handle your business. But you're a grown woman. You do not need your mommy to be fighting your battles. I just don't see why that is appropriate, especially if in a friend group. It's a different thing if Nell wasn't part of the friend group and Nell was somebody's mama in the group that and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna send my mom to go handle you because I'm not about to be arguing with nobody's mama, right? But that's different. This is not a group of people who Nell is the mother to one of your friends. Like, for instance, let's say Nell was Destiny's mom, right? I would understand Tisha saying, you know what, I'm not going to argue with Nell. That's Destiny's mama. I'm gonna just send my mama over there, go handle her. Mama to mama, you all talk, right? I would understand that, but I just don't think that is appropriate because that's not the dynamic. It's a different thing if it was a dynamic of like what I just explained. Here is just a group of people, a group of a group of friends, in quotation marks. I use that loosely because they clearly are not friends. But yeah, I disagree with Tisha's decision to do that. Now, I think it was also interesting where Wanda said Kimmi is basically in denial. Now, she didn't use those words, I'm going to say that, but she was basically trying to say that there is some truth to, remember the girl that Martell and maybe let me not call her side chick, and Arian brought on the show on their YouTube or whatever to talk about how she had been with Marceau and allegedly been with Maurice, right? So everything is alleged, of course. No proof was provided. We didn't see no pictures. We didn't see nothing. But it seems like Miss Wanda believes that there is some truth to it. What I thought was interesting was Miss Wanda was not focusing on Tisha, which I get because that's your daughter. Fair enough. But she was facing Kimmi and was asking Kimmi what Kimmi thought about it. And so Kimmi, of course, is like, yeah, then she made this spiel about like how a man can cheat or whatever. I'm like, okay, so did he cheat or not? And then she goes into the fact that, but yeah, look at her. Like, she made it more about a look at the girl kind of situation, as opposed to my man ain't cheated. He would never cheat, all of that. So she basically was saying like she does not believe the rumors. But I just didn't like when it was made about how the girl looks, which is also very similar to what Tisha did in the van as well. Like, look at me, so it's all about that. I'm like, guys cheat with anything. Most times they never look better than the wife. Just putting that out there, not saying your men are cheating. I am just saying that men will do, some men, let me just put some men because I don't believe all men cheat. Some men will cheat with someone who looks completely different from you. Some men will cheat with women who you may think is a downgrade from you. Sometimes it has nothing to do with any emotions. It has nothing to do with any of that feeling. They want to scratch an itch and they do that. Is that acceptable? Absolutely not. But when I see women that make it into a thing about look at the girl, look at me, I hate that because I feel like that is not the reality of most people's situations. You hear stories of like men cheating on their wives with a 60-year-old maid. And you're thinking, okay, I'm a young woman. Why would you cheat on me with a 60-year-old that looks like, in quotation marks, that, right? So I just think that that's not a good look. Kimmi, you're old enough to know better than that. And it's funny how Wanda was basically she didn't use those words, but indirectly saying the people are in denial, honey. Now, she didn't say anything about Tisha, but she was addressing it with Kimmi, which I agree. I feel like Tisha and Kimmi allegedly are probably in denial because, like Miss Wanda said, if a man comes to you and does not give you a straight answer, if you're asking him a question, he doesn't give you a straight answer, then he is lying. And in my experience, I've seen that to be true. You get sometimes they completely move away from the subject. You ask them a direct question. It's like asking you, did you go there yesterday? They're like, oh, yesterday I actually went to get my this. And then they move on away from the question to talk about something else that happened yesterday instead of the direct question you asked them. Have you ever cheated? Why would you think I would ever cheat on you with that person? Why? What does that mean? They have not answered the question. They are just diverting the attention and then turning it back on you. And I feel like some people don't be picking that up, or maybe they want to be in their delulu land and think and be in denial that their men are innocent and ain't doing ish. But if a man cannot answer, I agree with Wanda. If a man cannot respond to a direct question, a very simple question, a straightforward question, bear in mind that a lot of men don't like to give you context. They don't like to be talking around it. They're more direct. They don't give you all these extra context and stuff. But the moment he's not answering a direct question and going and beating around the bush, there you should have your answer. Or if he's trying to change the subject, then you should know, okay, something is fishy. And so I do agree with Wanda about the people being in denial. And it's like, if you're in denial, you're in denial. But the funny thing is looking at the facial expressions of Tisha and Kimmi in this situation, especially Kimmi. You can look at her. She looks visibly uncomfortable. It definitely looks like she was just very defensive about the whole thing. If you think that there is no truth to the issue or to the matter, why are you so defensive? What is the reason? There's no need to be defensive. I just think about it. There's no need to be defensive. I know he ain't slept with that girl. So why would I be defensive about it? But the fact that she looks defensive, she clearly doesn't want to talk about it. When Wanda is trying to address it, she keeps trying to be like, she wasn't even like really giving us facial, like she wasn't really giving us eye contact either. And so I think that low-key, she probably believes that there is some truth to it, and or allegedly, maybe there are other things that she knows that even if you're in this one, there's probably someone that he has stepped out with allegedly. That was what I got from the facial expression. Like I said, I don't know for a fact. I never seen no proof. I have never seen no text, nothing, no evidence. All I am saying is from me looking at the body language, me looking at the defensiveness. Even Tisha kept chiming in as well, clearly visibly uncomfortable with the conversation. I think that I understand Wanda not necessarily addressing Tisha because that's her daughter. She doesn't want to out her daughter on TV, and I respect it because that's your daughter. I wouldn't expect my mom to out me about something like that on TV unless we have discussed that it is okay. So I get that. But I think it was just very weird that Wanda seems to believe that there is some truth to it and was directing her conversation towards Kimmi when the whole video was more about Marceau with a little sprinkle of Maurice in the end. So it's like, if you have all that energy for Kimmi, where's all that energy for Tisha? But I'm going to throw Wanda a bone because she may have had that conversation with Tisha privately, and that's her daughter. She ain't gonna come out over here to talk to us about it. So those were like my initial thoughts about everything. I think it's obvious that they have made Nell not Nell into the villain. They have made Nell into the person that everyone is pointing at. Every conversation, it feels like everyone is talking about how Nell screams and Nell is shouting, but all of them raise their voices as well. They're all acting like they're all like, oh, hello. No, you also have so much energy. You also be raising your voice. Just because Nell has a louder voice, so she projects more. She raises her voice, you'll raise your voice as well. And so that's why I don't really appreciate the whole gang up on Nell situation, because I just feel like it is going back to how it was, in my opinion, with Melody as well. Now, I do think that Nell had shortcomings and could have stepped up for Mel a lot more on the show and did not. So I'm just like, this was the bed you made, so lie in it. On that note, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, hit that subscribe button and tap that bell button right next to it so you know every single time that I post, and I'll see you guys in the comments. Thank you. Bye.